Half of the people with fatty liver disease have completely normal blood test results. Not slightly off, normal. Which means the test most people trust to catch liver problems often doesn't. But your body still gives signals, just not the ones showing up on a lab report. Here are 7 of them, and by the time Bloodwork catches it, you're already 6 signs too late. This is Vital Code, where we decode what your body isn't telling you. Today, the 7 signs Bloodwork misses. 1 test, 2 very different truths. When people worry about their liver, they get a blood test. It measures 2 enzymes, ALT and AST, and gives you a number. If the number's in range, most people assume the liver's fine. That assumption is where this story starts to fall apart. Here's the stake. Up to 50% of people with fatty liver disease have completely normal ALT and AST levels. That's not a small blind spot. That's a coin flip. And in some studies, even people with full cirrhosis, advanced scarring, still tested normal. Which means for millions of people, clean blood work isn't reassurance. It's a blind spot. To understand why Bloodwork misses this, you need to understand something stranger first. The liver itself has no pain receptors at all. You could cut into healthy liver tissue and it wouldn't register anything. The only part that can feel anything is a thin, fibrous covering called Glisson's capsule, named after the anatomist who first described it. That capsule only signals distress once it's stretched by a liver that's swollen, inflamed, or full of fat. So the organ can be quietly struggling for years, completely silent, while the covering around it stays calm too. This isn't one isolated finding. A peer-reviewed biomarker review confirmed up to half of NAFLD patients test with normal liver enzymes. A separate population study went further, testing people with metabolic syndrome and technically normal ALT. 33% of them already had liver fibrosis. 10% already had cirrhosis. Different research teams, different populations, same uncomfortable conclusion. Here's where it escalates. Liver disease doesn't progress in a straight line that Bloodwork can track. Fat can build up, inflammation can develop, scarring can begin, and the enzyme numbers can stay put the entire time. The test wasn't designed to catch a quietly progressing disease. It was designed to catch active cell damage in the moment. Those are 2 very different things, and the gap between them is where fatty liver disease hides. Let's put the full data wall up. Up to 50% of fatty liver cases show normal enzyme levels. Among people with normal ALT and metabolic syndrome, 33% already had fibrosis. 10% already had cirrhosis. Elevated ALT correctly identifies cirrhosis only 23% of the time. And even at ALT levels doctors would call excellent, 20% of patients already had advanced fibrosis. This isn't a rare edge case. This is a well-documented gap in a routine test. Picture someone who just got their blood work back. Everything's in range. They stop worrying. But they've also been unusually tired for months. They've started using a CPAP machine. They bruise more easily than they used to. None of those things showed up on the lab report because the lab report was never designed to catch them. This is what makes fatty liver disease different from most conditions. The signs and the test results are answering 2 different questions. Medical guidance has actually caught up to this. The American Association for the Study of Liver Diseases explicitly advises against using ALT alone to judge how severe someone's fatty liver disease is. Researchers describe ALT as an imperfect biomarker, useful but nowhere near reliable enough to rule disease out on its own. The official position isn't controversial, it's just not widely known outside of hepatology. The good news is better tools already exist. Non-invasive fibrosis scores and elastography scans can estimate liver stiffness without a biopsy. For people with risk factors, diabetes, obesity, sleep apnea, these tools could catch disease that ALT alone would miss entirely. In theory, closing this blind spot is already possible with technology available right now. Here's what actually happened. In one large study of people with diabetes, a major risk factor for fatty liver, only 1.49% were ever given a fibrosis screening test. Of the small number who were screened, nearly 30% already had significant fibrosis. The better tools exist. They're just not being used at anywhere near the scale the risk demands. Step back, and this points to something bigger than the liver. A normal result on any single test only means you're normal on the thing that test happens to measure. It was never a guarantee that everything underneath is fine. The gap between tested normal and actually healthy is wider than most people realize, and it's where a lot of quiet damage lives. So here's the checklist: 7 signs in order of how often they show up. A dull ache under your right ribs, fatigue and brain fog that won't lift, dark, velvety patches on your neck or armpits, sleep apnea or restless sleep, bloating that doesn't match what you ate, bruising more easily than you used to, itching with no rash to explain it. None of these will show up on a standard blood panel. If 2 or more of these sound familiar, that's worth a conversation about fibrosis screening, not just another round of blood work. A clean blood test feels like an answer. Sometimes it's just a question that hasn't been asked yet. Your liver was already telling you something. Now you know what to listen for. Now you know what's already changing you.